Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Reading from the King James. Chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Let's stop there. And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And in one of those Psalms, I think, you do the search. David cried out to Israel and said that, and I say, you are gods. And so there are people who run around and say, oh, we are God, the God you are, or whatever the foolishness is. But Genesis 26 said, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And so, yes, we have some things in common with God the Creator, because he said after our likeness. A likeness is like let's say a photograph. A photograph is a likeness. You know, it's one kind of likeness. Yeah? But it doesn't have the power of the real person. It doesn't have, you know what I mean? It can serve as an identifying marker. Just, and to the atheist, I say that yes, we are an identifying marker that God is, because we are made in the likeness of God. Likeness just means you have certain qualities in common. So when we look at a picture of ourselves, we can say that this is a frontal image of us, or a side image of us. It's a likeness, yes. You know, if we do something wrong and they go to, you know, look for us, they find our fingerprint, they go through the criminal record thing, match the fingerprint to an image of us, and then come looking for us. So yes, man is made in the likeness of God, because he said, let us make man in our image, and give them dominion over the other things of the world. You see, and so when you look at us as human beings, we're not as strong as an ox. We're not as fast as a cheetah. You know, we can't swim like a whale. We have a lot of limitation, but we have dominion over them because we're made with godlike qualities. And one of the what we see with God, especially in this Genesis here, is that God has the ability to create stuff, right? Because this is day 6 in the creation event. We see God has the ability, the capability, the genius, the mind to create stuff. And that's one of the things that we have in common, that we're able to a human level. We can't create to a God level, because just like God says that the sky is way above the ground, so is my wisdom, so is God's wisdom greater than ours. So we can't think to the God level, but we can think. God gave us the ability to think creatively. And that's why when you look around your world, if you stop right where you are, look around you, you can see all the stuff that man has created, all this man-made stuff, because that's one of the likeness that we have to God. Later on, they got the ability to differentiate between good and bad, good and evil. Now, God, God had his plan, but God wasn't something that we're born with. And so when we look at our little babies, they're not born with the ability to know right from wrong. But they grow and they get to a certain level as we're teaching them when they get it. And so when Adam and Eve sin, you see, they step out of God's process for them. And they got to learn the difference between good and evil before their time. And it created all kind of problem for them. But when God first created Adam and Eve, they didn't have that quality. They had the ability to think, because Adam, for instance, he named all the animals, all the creatures. So when we look at the names of these things in our different languages and cultures, they all came from the same source. I mean, a bear, there's a name for them in every culture and every language, but still point back to them being a bear. And so this is the likeness. This is the image of God that we have. The spiritual. You see, God is totally spiritual. We are spiritual and human, physical at the same time, because we have to be in order to be in this world. So when Jesus, the Son of God, the spirit being, came into this is why the Bible said he took on human flesh, came as a baby through the Virgin Mary, right? Was born like all other humans, grew up like a child, and through puberty and teenage years and early manhood and to adulthood. That's why when the Bible says he was in all points tempted as we are, it's true, because he came up through life just like we came up through life, come into the world as a baby and grow and so on and so forth. So yes, we are made in the likeness of God. And the most important thing about us, the most important thing about people, is the ability to know good from evil. That's the most important quality that God has given to us, because this ability is essential to God's plans. It's our ability to know right from wrong that helps us to make a choice. We're going to choose Jesus, or we're going to choose a life of sin. Yes, we have to know right from wrong, good from evil. And when you choose Jesus, you're choosing good. When Adam and Eve forced their way into that knowledge, they weren't ready for it. It's just like my little 3-year-old granddaughter. She can't choose Jesus. She don't know anything about that kind of stuff. Yes, we are made in the image and the likeness of God. We have certain godlike qualities. We don't have it in the quantity. We don't have it to the level of God. It's just like a doll. They make these little dolls, and they look like little people, right? And some of the dolls, the real dolls, expensive ones, are so lifelike. Amen. And so it's the same thing with us and God. But we must know and understand our limitation. We must know the difference, or the differences between us and God. Yeah, we have qualities that are, yes, to a human degree, not to a God, the Creator level. So when we come to the New Testament, and Jesus declared to us and let us know the things that make us children of God. The difference between being children of God versus being children of our mother and father. See, we can grow up to be and to achieve more than our mothers and fathers. My mom, she never went to high school, and she don't have a high school education. She learned to read and write, and she did pretty good for ourselves. But my generation, as a matter of fact, in my generation, in my family, I am probably the only one with a college degree. The next generation, now a whole bunch of them got college degree. And then the generation after that, even more of them. I just look at, my branch of humanity, and I have a college degree. Now the next generation, 4 of them, 5 of them have college degree. The next generation after that, they're all going to have college degree. But that's the way it is in among the human family, that the next generation can be better than the previous, but not in God's family. God is always going to be God, the Father, creator of heaven and earth. He's always going to be superior to us. And we're his children in the spiritual things. It's in our spiritual being that we're going to be, the connection is made that we are children of God. And so when we live, the way Jesus has taught us, then we are his children. Because in the spiritual realm, well, even in this life, it is important to love our enemies and to, not commit adultery. But then again, if you love your enemies, and you're not going to do nothing, you're not going to steal from him, you're not going to disrespect him, you're not going to commit adultery with his wife or husband, you're not gonna hate on him, you're going to want good for your neighbor just as you want good for your friends and family and yourself. So the thing, just living godly is a requirement, no matter whether you're in this world or, in the world to come, or on the other side, or in the spiritual world. But yeah, we're like God. We're made in God's likeness, after his image, in our abilities to think, to create stuff, to change, as limited as we are. The thing that gives us dominion over all the other creatures and everything else is our ability to create, our ability to think things through, our ability to figure out, as we reverse engineer the things that we see in creation. That's what we do. We reverse engineer oil, for instance, and see, hey, we can make plastic out of it, and we can we can make gasoline out of it, and we can do all these things out of it to supplement all the other stuff that we need. We need plastic vessels, and we need plastic this and that, and we need. So that's what we do. We reverse engineer these things to sustain our lives, while the reverse was what God created. God set us up to depend on him. He set us up maintaining all these things. Yes, we are godlike, but we're not God. We are godlike, we are his children, but we are not the Father. And one of the things that we have to do, we have to catch ourselves when we start to kind of put God in a human box. We must catch ourselves and realize that we can't think about God in the same terms that we think about people. People I can put in a box. You can't run as fast. You're not as tall. You're not as smart. You're not as rich. You're not as pretty. You're not as, we can put people in a box. Yes, because people have limitations. But we can't put God into any kind of box because God does not have any limitation. And when we understand that about God, and as we see God, we see Christ, right? Then we recognize our own inadequacy, our own limitation, and it humbles us. When I think about, I'm godlike, but I don't have the real power. It humbles me because now it makes me, as I'm helpless, as I'm trying to deal with the situation, and it's like, man, I don't even have Jesus's power. If I had Jesus's power, I would just speak the word, and that physical situation would change. I would just touch that person, and they would be healed. I would just say to the demon in folks, come out, and people would be made right. It humbles me. Then I have to, go to prayer and ask God, I know you got the power. I know you're able. You've done it before. I know you can always do it. You can do it again. You can do it now. Can you do it now? Would you please come in and do what you think is best? I think you should come in and touch his mind and touch his heart and body and all this other stuff. But nevertheless, I know you can do it. And so I accept whether you choose to do it or not because you're smarter than me. You know how people get upset, especially kids, when you tell them no. When we come to God, we have to understand that God's no is a yes. God's no is a yes. God is saying no to my way, how I see it, or what I think should happen. He's saying, no, that's not the best way. No, that is not the best way. Here's, my way is the best way. So we again, we're made in the image of God. We have godlike quality and godlike ability in human capacity. But we're not God. We're not God, the creator. We're not even little gods. But I guess it's a matter of definition, but I wouldn't even put anything in there to confuse the idea that we're anywhere close to God. We're no closer to God than that doll is to a real person. Amen? So when you think of our likeness and our image, or us being in the likeness and the image of God, understand that we're to God as that doll is to us. Bless up.